Hi there. I'm going to spout some atheism. I could take the incredibly insipid approach of attempting to make the claim that continuing to watch this video represents agreement with the views that I'm about to present, but I've got too much respect for your mind for that, unjustified as that may be. I wanted to point out something in your video that I'm quite certain escaped your attention. You made the moral claim that to spout atheism is worse morally than telling someone to F you. What I think escaped your attention in that video is that you proceeded to add another phrase. It wasn't just F you. You also said the phrase, go to hell, indicating that to spout atheism was worse than telling someone to go to hell. Clearly, you're providing us with incredibly enlightened moral instruction. Surely your source of morality is greater than ours, and surely your understanding of what is right and good in the universe is a sight to behold. Because you went on in the very same video and proceeded to describe that to spout atheism was to engage in spiritual warfare, and that spiritual warfare has consequences. In other words, you're telling us to go to hell. An amazing feat of hypocrisy, blindness, and doublespeak that you've managed to pull off there. I'm quite sure it escaped your attention, and I'm honored to bring it to your attention at this time. But I'm going to try to give your thinking a little bit more attention than it obviously deserves. I'm going to attempt to make sense of the real trouble you have with the idea of someone talking about atheism. You see, if you were really confident in your beliefs, the idea of someone saying there is no God would be completely meaningless to you. The problem, as I see it, is that you really know that we're right. There really is no God. The fact that we say that is a terrible affront, not because we say it, not because of who we are, and certainly not because of any moral equivalence to saying F you, but because you know that we're telling the truth. How can God be the creator and sustainer of all things if he is so fragile that for someone like me to say that he doesn't exist is an affront greater than to attack one of his creations? If God really is all that big, I'm sure he can take a little bit of doubt, especially when he provides us with such overwhelming evidence of his existence and continuing involvement with the world. One of the things that you also said was that one of the reasons that you know God exists is to walk up to people on the street and say, Jesus loves you, and observe the reaction. I find it interesting that you bring that up, because I can describe in great detail exactly how I would feel if you were to say that to me. And it provides an interesting comparison to the other circumstance you described. If you walk up to me on the street and simply said F you, I would ignore you and walk away. Your insult would be meaningless to me. I wouldn't think anything more about it. But if you were to tell me Jesus loves you, two things would instantly pop to my mind. The first is that you really don't have any idea who Jesus is and what he represents. But when you say Jesus loves you, you're talking about blood to the level of a horse's bridle. You're talking about weeping and gnashing of teeth. You're talking about the guy who said, think not that I am come to send peace, but as a sword. He who does not hate his family, he who does not hate everyone, even himself, is not worthy of me. And I can honestly think of nothing that expresses Christianity more than to say that one must hate oneself. The other thing that would become immediately apparent to me kind of shines forth when you begin to talk about God's enemies. There is hatred in your eyes when you say that. You obviously do not trust God to take out his own vengeance. Your heart burns with the desire to take that vengeance out on his behalf. You wouldn't have made the video otherwise. In that way, I would feel exactly the same way toward you that I would feel if confronted by one of the 9/11 hijackers or Osama bin Laden, because there is exact moral equivalence between all of you. It is impossible to decry the efforts of the terrorists and still cling to the idea of a supernatural God. God belief is the most dangerous thing in the world. This business of morality matters. It matters more than you might think. And to say something as casually ridiculous as go to hell, while at the same time describing that as a moral situation to avoid, isn't simply a simple failure. It's an enormous problem. So please, keep your hatred to yourself.